Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Hot stove baseball, that's got to be your thing coming up here. We got the Just Baseball show coming up. Peter Appel is with us to give us a preview of the show here exclusively on SportsGrid and also go over the latest landscape in Major League Baseball as well. Peter, great to have you here on the show. All right, so we got to wait, I think, here until, pitchers and catchers report here a little bit. We get some trickling news here on some of the fan fests, but teams do seem to be a little bit of in a holding pattern. And I think, Peter, that's only natural because we've gotten to the point where executives now want to see their guys, right? Like they want to see what they got, let them get to camp and then decide to make some moves or not. But we did get one, albeit not huge signing. Some money was spent by the San Francisco Giants, who have been very quiet this offseason. They did sign Harrison Bader to a 2-year contract. Bader's been popping around everywhere in Major League Baseball over the last few years. But hey, he got a 2-year deal now, finally. So it would appear as though, barring some catastrophe with the Giants, that he'll man their outfield for 140, 150 games this season, and maybe even do it next year as well.
Absolutely. And I think he got this 2-year, $20.5 million deal because of his late surge offensively last year for the Phillies. And speaking about the Phillies, I'm a little bit surprised that they decided to go with Adolis Garcia on a 1-year, $10 million deal instead of just giving this money to Harrison Bader, because it's one thing to surge late offensively, but the reason Harrison Bader is getting a multi-year deal is because of the high floor defensively. And to be honest with you, I'm a little bit frustrated that I didn't think that the Giants would be a perfect landing spot for Harrison Bader, because you look at their center field defense last year, they were near the bottom in defensive runs saved, outs above average, fielding run value. And it's in large part because of Jung-Hoo Lee, ever since the Giants brought him over from the KBO, just hasn't done enough defensively in center field. You bring in Harrison Bader, who is still one of the better defensive players at the center field position. You put him in there and it makes their defense a lot better, because you also have Heliot Ramos in left field, who is, to put it nicely, not very good at left field.
Yeah, you did. You just put it nicely there. Thankfully, his parents and family not watching the show today, because they wouldn't appreciate that, Peter, but it's okay. That's you, not me. All right, let's go to the Chicago White Sox, who waited to make an offseason splash by signing Sir Anthony Dominguez to pitch the back end of their games. Had such a nice season, I believe, for Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, last year. Dominguez has always been in high leverage situations and pitching well. The White Sox traded Louis Robert to the Mets, seemingly freed up a little extra cash there. And so now, let's just be honest, Dominguez chased the bag here. Figured maybe this is his last multi-year deal. Let me get paid.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment on it. One thing that I do want to note, though, is how many back end trios and bullpens, you look across the landscape of Major League Baseball, have their 7th, their 8th, and their 9th inning guy all striking out over 11 per 9 last year. The list is short. And you look at the 3 that they have: Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jordan Leisure, and Grant Taylor. All 3 of them have electric stuff. But I think what the White Sox want to do by bringing in Dominguez is move Grant Taylor back to the rotation. Because you look at the White Sox lineup right now, and I know they're coming off 60 wins and nobody's really paying attention to them. But during this rebuild, those guys are getting a little bit older that were rookies last year or were in the minor leagues. The lineup looks a little bit more exciting. And then you look at the bullpen and see that trio, but potentially putting Grant Taylor in the rotation. You see it forming, right? There's a lot of teams in Major League Baseball who don't seem to have a plan, and it seems to be just the same old thing every year. The White Sox, they took their licks, and I think they're getting better and better, and I think this points towards it.
Yeah, and by the way, the White Sox, not just with Dominguez, but certainly with the Murakami signing and bringing in Sean Newcomb, they've definitely made themselves better going into the season. I don't think anyone's going to mistake them for 90 wins or anything like that, but give them credit for at least bouncing back into what appears to be the end of a rebuild or the middle of a rebuild. Meanwhile, Jose Altuve of the Houston Astros at a recent event, I guess, revealed that they've asked him not to play in the WBC. Why do you think?
I have no idea. And I was looking around and it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I mean, he is getting older, so I guess it would be injury related. And I know he's dealt with a few things over the years, but just seems like, I guess, either the Astros don't want him or he doesn't want it. I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem to me, Peter, I mean, he did get hurt in the World Baseball Classic last time, and maybe that's part of it. But when you have a player of his significance, certainly coming from Venezuela and batting in the middle of that lineup, I mean, and by the way, Peter, this is probably his last go of it, I would guess, at the
Yeah.
World Baseball Classic as well. It's kind of hard to tell a player no. I mean, is it fair to speculate maybe that he knows that? I mean, I don't want to speculate here, but I guess I'm going to do it because that's what we do. That maybe the truth is that he doesn't want to play, but he doesn't want to say that he doesn't want to play. I mean, is that sort of the deal here?
I don't know, and I think it's fair to speculate that. I think you could speculate a lot of different things. Is it because of the injury that you pointed to? Is it that he feels just this late in his career that he wants to put all of his focus into the Astros? Because you look at the Astros right now, and a lot of those core guys have left, right? And you only got a
Yeah.
few years left of this Astros team before inevitably they might have to tear it down again. So maybe he just wants to go full bore into this season and is kind of using this as a way to get out of it. I'm really not sure. I'm my best guess would be a lot of different smaller reasons that ultimately led to this decision.
All right. A small move by the Chicago Cubs. If I would have told you, Peter, let's say 3 years ago, that they would acquire Dylan Carlson, you would say, man, what did they have to give up to get that guy? And it just shows you this dynamic of prospects where it is so hard to predict things in Major League Baseball. Carlson, along with even Jordan Walker at the time, predicted to be the cornerstones of the future of the Cardinals. Heim Bloom comes in, changes everything up. Now, Carlson's been gone, of course, from St. Louis for a while, but I remember going to Jupiter in spring training, looking at this kid, thinking he's a bona fide star. Do you think that he has a second life in him, so to speak, in baseball by going to the Cubs here?
He's one of those players that I've always liked because of his ability to switch hit. I always thought he was a plus defender at a premium position in center field, and a lot of smart teams have brought him in. Right, most recently the Rays, and then of course the Cubs are bringing him in, and I'm sure they're kind of seeing what we've all seen for a while, that there is potential in there, and maybe it's just about bringing him to the right spot. But I love that point that you made about prospects and how it's really tough, to know who's going to really become the star that we think they are. And all of these big time trades come in. And I always just think it's funny when fans kind of wince at a prospect package when we really have no idea what these guys will become.
No, you don't. And especially a guy like Carlson, who was thought so highly of. By the way, Peter, let's take a look at the National League Central odds at the moment. Very tight with three teams: Cubs, Brewers, and Reds. Brewers arguably did less than these other teams like Cincinnati and Chicago in the offseason. Even Pittsburgh probably did more than them. Those are the four teams. We know the Cardinals have basically put the flag down. They're in a rebuild. Leave us alone, at least until next year. Do you see those odds as being on spot on there? And certainly anything can happen in baseball, but do you think Cubs, Brewers, Pirates, and I would ask in that order? Seems like we discount the Brewers every year, and then they end up finishing near the top.
Exactly. I think it's fair to say that the Cubs should be at the top right now because their roster is better than it was last year, but I'm not knocking the Brewers down to plus 260. I know it's not exactly the same roster, but they do this every year. It's like we haven't learned. I've hit some 4-1, I've hit 8-1 on the Brewers to win the Central before, and more than likely that's where my money will be again.
Peter Appel with us from Just Baseball. We'll take a quick timeout and we'll come back and hit on the remaining free agents. And there are some significant names out there in the landscape of baseball that are probably going to sign over the next month or so with a team. Also, if you want to learn more about Just Baseball or any of the other shows that we have going on here at Sports Grid, take out your phone and scan this QR code. It is the Sports Grid app. It's completely free and you can stream our shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, exclusively via the Sports Grid app. We'll be back with Peter right after this, so stay with us on the grid. Don't go away. Peter Appel back with us, Just Baseball, coming your way in 15 minutes. Baseball talk, and of course, as we approach baseball season, man, you guys are going to love their show all season long. They joined us here at Sports Grid at the end of last season, but now a full season with Just Baseball should be fun. Peter back with us here to weigh in on free agency. And, look, I'm not going to say it's a moratorium, but it does sort of feel like we're going to have to wait until, and it's not like the Super Bowl's an arbitrary date or anything like that, but I do feel like teams are like, if these guys are out there still right now, they'll be out there when we look at our staff and we look at our infielders, and then the signings start to happen. Somebody's out of shape, somebody gets hurt. Unfortunately, this is the category of player that still remains in free agency. Not to knock them all, but let's get started here. Man, my buddy Zac Gallen. I did not think he would be in this spot, Peter, but here he is. I mean, look, he just didn't have a great free agency season, and he sits on a market where teams, again, kind of know what they have, what they want already. There's probably, unfortunately for him, a better pitcher out there than Framber Valdez, who's still available. We see reports here that say that Gallen could do a short-term deal, Peter, and then opt back out, go somewhere else. I saw some Arizona stuff pop up over the weekend. And you look historically, Peter, what's interesting with Gallen's numbers, let's use a 3-year sample. Last year was the worst year of the three. So I think he's a pretty good gamble for someone, don't you?
I agree and disagree. And the reason I'm in between is I can't decide, are Gallen's best years in front of them or are they behind them? Because if you look at the progression, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse, like 2023 to 2024 to 2025. And albeit, his free agent year ended up being the worst of them all with an ERA above 4.5. The good part about Zac Gallen is he can eat innings. I mean, it's 180 innings, rinse and repeat, right? So, and that's kind of unique on the market right now. It's hard to find guys you can feel good about going 6 innings or more, right? The Mets just traded for Freddie Peralta. Half of his starts last year were 5 innings or less. So that's the positive. But how good will those 6 innings be start in and start out? And I think that's why a lot of teams are questioning Gallen because of last year and how it's just gotten
Fair.
progressively worse.
Yeah, no, I think that is fair. Gallen, though, ain't 36 years old. I mean, he still should have 3 good years ahead of him, 4 good years ahead of him, but maybe it is that short-term deal to prove it and then go back out to free agency. So perplexing. That would be the one with Framber Valdez because you talked about rinse and repeat. That's what this guy has been every single season. So maybe I'm missing something in the advanced metrics here that point to Valdez going the other way. Some folks are using a single pitch against him, the one that he threw to his catcher that crossed that up as the reason why no one's going to sign him. I cannot believe that really is the case. He's been a World Series pitcher. He's been a high level pitcher for Houston, pitching in the very biggest games. And so maybe this is just a battle, Peter, of Valdez feeling like he's better than the offers that he's gotten, maybe a lot better than the offers that he's gotten, because I didn't expect him to go all the way into February without a team.
Yeah, it is interesting discussing Zac Gallen than Framber Valdez back to back because you look at Gallen and it's more of a quantitative argument. We're looking at his numbers because there's nothing, that we have to talk about with the person of Zac Gallen. And unfortunately, with Framber Valdez, it's less about the numbers and more about what happened last season, right? We saw the switch up. It was not a good look. And for those who didn't think it was a big deal, clearly general managers did because his agent had to create a 20-minute video basically telling these guys who Framber really is as a man. Now, I'm not going to speculate on who he is as a person. I'm sure he's a great guy. These front offices, that is their job. But as the offseason goes along, unfortunately, the longer it goes, the more that the teams have the leverage here because these guys, they want to get into spring training. They want to get everything right. So the longer that goes, and especially if it's a shorter term deal where you have to prove it, and then you're coming into spring training late. If I'm Framber and I'm Zac Gallen, I might have to take a deal that I don't want, especially if it's a prove it deal, because I want to make sure that prove it deal, I can actually prove it. And I think that's where both of them are kind of going to land. And the one team that's in the best position to pounce is the Baltimore Orioles. They need to make one more move in their starting rotation, and they can kind of see, all right, is Gallen going to be a 1+1 deal? Will Framber go a 3-year deal, maybe even less than that? They're in a great position to get either one of these arms.
Yeah. Orioles always in need of pitching, as it would seem, but not yet spending the money on it. We're still waiting on that. All right, now let's get to a player that, I mean, look, he had the best year last year, incredible run for Eugenio Suarez, a very well-liked player, Peter, but this guy, for the life of him, cannot get these multi-year offers from these teams. 49 home runs, 824 OPS, 118 runs driven in. At some point, Suarez is going to deliver a massive home run for a team that's going to put them, give them wins. He's a player that everybody should want. But Peter, nobody does. We go through this every year with this guy. He's always traded. He's moving on. He's going to other teams.
I think teams don't really know how to value him right now because you look at 49 home runs and 118 driven in. Can he replicate that? Because all that power got him to an 824 OPS. What if he hits 30 home runs next year? Still solid, but he's hitting 230. He's striking out 30% of the time, and he's hitting 30 home runs. Is that a player that you want to give a multi-year deal of $20-25 million to? Probably not. Munetaka Murakami, who we just talked about, who might look a lot like that, just signed a 2-year, $34 million deal,
Yeah.
and he's 26 years old. Gino is now aging. And also,
Yeah.
a rougher part of Gino's game is his defense. So really, it's all about that power, and teams are probably looking at him and saying, are we going to get 49 home runs again? Probably not. So then what do we pay him? It's probably not what he wants.
Yeah, no, it's tough. All right. Before we go, Peter, what's coming up here on the show in about 10 minutes from now here on Sports Grid?
Oh, it's a really fun show. We ranked the 5 best off seasons so far in Major League Baseball. We're looking at 5 teams who added the most and are looking the best going into 2026. And we also discussed Harrison Bader to the Giants. We talked a lot about the fit there and also about the Phillies situation, getting Adolis Garcia instead of Bader, and then Sir Anthony Dominguez going to the White Sox. I think it's an intriguing move. I really do.
All right, so we'll catch Peter and Aram and Jack McMullen. They do a fantastic job. That's coming your way in 10 minutes from now, exclusively here on Sports Grid. Peter, we'll catch up again soon. Spring training around the corner. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.